This is the original hardcore chair swinging freak of ECW, the one and only Axel Rotten, and you're listening to the greatest, most hardcore on the internet and all over the world. That's the place to be for wrestling news and commentary. That's Hardcore Wrestling Radio. Don't turn it off, or I'll wrap a steel chair around your head.
We're Hardcore Wrestling Radio. In HWR, we may not drop a lot of pipe bombs, but we sure as hell drop a lot of F-bombs. So don't say you weren't warned. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Hardcore Wrestling Radio. I'm the Shining Star, Rick Starr, and we got a whole bunch of guys here tonight. Andy, of course, is out chasing a couple of ghosts. Well, for all we know, he could be out chasing some girls, but hey, the rest of the crew here.
Hey, he's chasing Dixie Carter.
And of course, that came from the Wrestle Gamer, WB Bujo from WGS-TV. Billy, how you doing tonight?
Doing just fine. If you don't mind, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome a very special guest here into the call from the trilogy. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mr. Lucas Spielberg. Mr. Spielberg, how you doing?
Doing. I can't complain too much. Should be out making more money, but you got me roped into this, so yeah, okay.
And then we have from Lance Moss TV, we have the incomparable Lance Moss. Lance, what's up?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me.
And then last but not least, we got the two Instagib gurus. We have James and Bay Area MVP, known as Will. Guys, what's up?
I'm doing fine. I just wish Fandango would hit up HWR to tell us, how does that jaw feel right about now?
Hey, we tried to do a Money in the Bank preview over on WGS TV, but thanks to Skype Messenger, we had a couple of issues, didn't we, Billy?
Oh, yes. Just with 5 minutes left to go in doing the Money in the Bank predictions, Skype decides, you know what? I'm going to screw up right when Will is talking about his final picks for Money in the Bank. So I don't know if it was Skype doing that or if Will just hacked my laptop and decided, you know what? I don't want to be on WGS TV anymore, so I'm going to hack your laptop and ruin the entire call.
You never know. So you know what, Billy? I'm going to let you start things off, so the floor is yours.
Well, yes. Well, we're going to be talking about Money in the Bank predictions, of course, with Money in the Bank being this Sunday. A lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. So let's go ahead and start off with the kickoff match for Money in the Bank, which is the Tag Team Championship, the Shield in the form of Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, and needless to say, there's only one member of that team I actually care about, taking on the Usos. Now, a lot of people are saying, you know what, it's about time the Usos would get pushed. You know, a lot of people are thinking the Usos are going to get the tag team titles. And if you think the Usos are going to get the tag team titles, then you're just about as crazy as Lucas Spielberg thinking I'm the sexiest man alive.
I for one, I'm just gonna let that one slide this time.
Yeah, it was hypothetical, but but the Shield's, you gotta agree, Mr. Spielberg, the Shield's just on too big of a push in the WWE for them to have the titles be dropped off of them to the Usos.
Well, I agree. The Reigns and Rollins are on way too big of a role as tag team champions, especially with Ambrose holding the U.S. strap. I will say this, as far as the people who believe that it's about time that the Usos get a push, I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Anyway, Rick, let's look towards this matchup, Chris Jericho and Ryback. Now, this matchup kind of came about with Ryback going into Vicky Guerrero's office, I think maybe the week after the whole inception of the Mark Henry John Cena storyline, complaining to Vicky Guerrero that, you know what, Mark Henry doesn't deserve to be in that title match. I deserve to be in that title match. Put me in there. And then also that night, Jericho, I believe, got a disqualification victory over Alberto Del Rio that exact same week, and then was also in Vicky Guerrero's office saying, you know what, I deserve a championship match. And they started going back and forth each other, you know, saying, you know what, you don't deserve that title match. I deserve it. And Vicky Guerrero then says, you know what, you guys have an issue. You're going to settle it at Money in the Bank. And Rick, I don't know what it is about Ryback's gimmick as of late. You know, he starts off as a strong, you know, indestructible type of guy. And then as of late, you know, they turn him heel, and it's just like been a complete 180, and almost to the point now that the Ryback character is kind of a joke.
Yeah, I have to absolutely agree with you. I think Andy said last night that this whole Cryback thing, that they're making him look like a wimp, and unfortunately he needs to win this match, because if not, it's just going to kill. I wouldn't say kill his career permanently, but it'll definitely kill his career for a long time, because losing this match after he's been literally stopping a match where people was getting his where he's just getting his leg kicked. It just says to me that the only time he can win matches is squash matches against jobbers. So
Yeah.
he needs to win this match. But in all essence, I'd like to see Jericho win, but I think we're going to see Ryback win one way or another, hook or crook.
Up next, a topic that James just loves to talk about so much, whether it's here on HWR or over on WGS-TV at youtube.com/gamer, plug. It's the Divas in the WWE as we look at the Divas Championship match. AJ Lee defending the title against Caitlyn. And one thing I tried to make mention of last night, James, before Skype decided to do the whole skedaddle when we tried to record the Money Bank predictions last night, was considering the fact that AJ Lee and Caitlyn right now, I really consider to possibly be the two strongest divas right now in the WWE, considering everything that they've done, the way they've been pushed, the way they've been used talent-wise. Because honestly, if this would have been AJ Lee versus Oksana, I would have thrown up immediately after hearing that booking. But AJ Lee and Caitlyn, James, actually has a good appeal to it. It actually, for once in the WWE, a Divas match has actually sparked my interest. James, has it sparked your interest?
It's been sparked my interest really for a while. This it's just because it's the history of the two, AJ Lee and Caitlyn, these former best friends, the Chickbusters, basically.
Chickbusters.
Yes, that's what they call themselves, the Chickbusters. It's excellent, like how AJ dressed up as Caitlyn, then Caitlyn comes out Friday after dressed up as AJ. And I heard for this match, I'm picking AJ because it's really too early for her to give up the title. She just had it for a month, and I don't know if they want to give it back to Caitlyn later on, but right now AJ is your big heel diva since Eve.
Well, I wouldn't say Eve had as much heat as AJ Lee has at this point in time. Yes, the persona is kind of represented there as, AJ being the heel champion, just like Eve was the heel champion. Talent-wise, AJ loads better than Eve. I will say that though. But let's go up to this next one, Lance, as we talk about the Shining Star, Rick Starr's favorite wrestler of all time. And no, we are not talking about the GCW Extreme Zero Gravity champion Ashton Spears. We are talking about the WWE Intercontinental Champion Curtis Axel, along with Paul Heyman, defending the title against The Miz. Lance, one of the things I really found that might hurt this match a little bit, I don't know if you agree with my sentiment or not, is the fact that, the Intercontinental title as of late had been a joke because of the guys like Santino Marella. He was just comic relief. We had Wade Barrett. They put the strap on him. What did he do? Jack absolutely shit. And now they have the title on Curtis Axel. Axel has actually made it a bit interesting. Rick, now remember, I just said a little bit. I didn't say a whole lot. But it was just
Thank you for clarifying.
It was just a bit more interesting. But I think, Lance, I don't know if you agree with this sentiment or not, but I think maybe the lack of a good build might hurt this match a little bit between Curtis Axel and The Miz. What do you think?
Oh, it's definitely hurting it. And the fact that most of Curtis Axel's wins have been bullshit wins, definitely hurting it.
Mr. Spielberg, speaking, from having a ton of experience as a heel persona in wrestling, there have been a lot of doubt. There's been a lot of people just kind of mad dogging the way that Curtis Axel has been used in the WWE, saying that he's not really legit. That none of his wins are legit. Now, speaking from a heel persona, do you agree with that sentiment towards Curtis Axel?
Well, there are two ways to think about this. The first way, the way that the question has been presented is, as a heel, are those quote unquote bullshit wins actual bullshit wins? The answer to that comes straight out of the Bobby Heenan School of Management. as a manager, as a heel manager who has on numerous occasions facilitated the win. No, they're not. He's a heel. I don't care what anybody says. He is a heel. He as far as what happened during those matches, the bell rung. He was announced the winner. Congratulations! You celebrate. You're the winner. You never talk about how you won. You just talk. It's just the simple fact that you won. So are those quote unquote bullshit losses actual bullshit? Absolutely. As far as from the fan perspective, and personally speaking, as far as the build of Curtis Axel and how they're building and how they're trying to build Curtis Axel, they're absolute bullshit because you're starting a kid 3 miles behind the blocks.
Very interesting take on that one. But let's go on with the Money in the Bank predictions. Well, and as we look to the rising stars, or as I like to call them, the rising stars, since WWE doesn't officially want to really dub it. They want to dub the All-Stars for the Raw Money in the Bank, but they don't really want to put a name on this one. But I'm going to call it the Rising Stars Money in the Bank ladder match for the World Heavyweight Championship contract. Wade Barrett, Cody Rhodes, Damian Sandow, Dean Ambrose, Fandango, Jack Swagger, and Antonio Cesaro. Oh, let me rephrase that name. It's Jack. I realize I don't have a line in a promo, so I shouldn't have opened up my mouth and leaned in acting like I was going to say something in this promo. I need to learn when to keep my mouth shut. Swagger.
All right. Yeah, I was letting you sink in for this one a little bit, but yes, I mean, these are the up-and-coming stars, and last couple of weeks, you had Zeb Coulter's faction go up against Team Rhodes Scholars, and lately, I mean, it's been over a little bit high on Swagger and Coulter, but and Cesaro, sorry, I can't fix my manager for wrestler. And then you got Team Rhodes Scholars. Looks like they're on their last hind legs. I mean, we paid attention 3 weeks ago. Sandow was distracted, and Rhodes lost to Cesaro about 3 weeks ago, and yeah, that answer pretty much tells the story. Moving on, then you have Wade Barrett. Where's your barrage, Barrett? Where is it at? You haven't done it lately.
Let me correct you. It's not barrage. It's barrage.
Whatever you want to call it. Moving
That's
on.
only from the UK, though.
I call it a reverse push.
Yeah. Ambrose looks like he's one of the favorites to win, but I don't see him winning it. But the wild card, I hate to say it, but the wild card's going to be Fandango in this one. I'm not saying he's going to win. He'll do something memorable. I don't see him winning it, but for my prediction, I'm going to say Cesaro because, look, now he joined Coulter and Swagger. You may never know, so I'm going for Cesaro.
Which now leads us to the Money in the Bank All-Stars match with CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton, Sheamus, Christian, Rob Van Dam. Now, originally, they were scheduled to have Kane, but for those of you who didn't see Monday Night Raw, they had the Wyatt family debut, and in their debut, they actually assaulted Kane and took him out. And especially he's been injured. Rick, before I go on with my assessment of this match, what are the reports have been on who the possible replacement would be for Kane in the Money in the Bank ladder match?
I've been checking all day, and so far, there's been no really up-to-dates. If you ask me, personally, I think Dolph Ziggler's going to steal the Money in the Bank. That's just my thoughts. He's done a lot of double duties plenty of times in the past. I think this is what's going to happen. I think he's going to lose. I'm going to jump ahead of the game. I think he's going to lose the world title shot, and then the All-Stars match is going to be on later on tonight. Later on in the night, he's going to jump in, get it, and win it. I could be wrong.
Could the same be said for Alberto Del Rio?
Possibly. I think maybe whoever might lose that might get a shot at it if they might play it that way. I mean, there's also Chris Jericho. There's also The Miz. Any one of those could be in and pull a double duty. Jericho is a little bit older. I don't think he wants to pull that double duty. Could be The Undertaker, but I don't think The Undertaker would want to do a ladder match. It just doesn't make sense. Especially so close to SummerSlam because he's already, as it is, not at the top of his game anymore. If it was like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, yeah, I think you can see him doing it. But
now, as of late, over the past, ever since Money in the Bank match was announced, WWE has really, really pushed Daniel Bryan. I mean, the guy has just been pushed to the stars. I mean, it's amazing that he can captivate a crowd just by raising up his arms and saying one word. And I thought the era of Stone Cold Steve Austin was dead. But it's been really good, and I will say this though, he's really, really stepped up his game, and he has looked really good. He's looked really strong. But I think with the way WWE kind of playing up the return of Rob Van Dam at Money in the Bank, to me that's just kind of a looming factor in my head. If I could narrow it down to two people in the All-Star Money in the Bank ladder match, it'd have to be Daniel Bryan or Rob Van Dam. But depending on who the replacement will be for Kane in the Money in the Bank All-Stars match would kind of be a big factor. But if I went to narrow it down even further and say, I would say possibly Rob Van Dam, but I would not be surprised if Dolph Ziggler or Berto Del Rio, the loser of the World Heavyweight title match, would come in and be in this Money in the Bank All-Stars match. Because both Del Rio and Ziggler have been past winners of Money in the Bank before. But CM Punk, I don't see CM Punk doing it because of the fact that he's going to be involved in a storyline with Brock Lesnar. Randy Orton, Sheamus, and Christian, I don't know. To me, I just don't see it. But I got to go with my gut instinct, and Rick pretty knows how big my gut is. And I got to go with Rob Van Dam on this one here. But Rick, well, you know what, Rick, you already made your opinions known about the World Heavyweight title match between Alberto Del Rio and Dolph Ziggler, haven't you?
Yeah, but like I said, in a nutshell, I would not be surprised again if Dolph lost it. Who I think whoever wins or loses that is definitely going into that Money in the Bank.
Will, would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, most definitely, sir. Most definitely.
Well, Will went from being Mexican to Spanish in like 3 seconds. I don't know.
He had Mexican food tonight, so
Hey!
We hear him making a weird noise. That's either him going to the bathroom or James's homeless person. The WWE Championship match: John Cena versus Mark Henry. One of the things that we've all been in agreement on as it pertains to the storyline involving John Cena and Mark Henry is that the Mark Henry retirement speech that he made at the inception of this storyline was by far one of the best promos and some of the best mic work we have ever seen out of Mark Henry. We talked about Mark Henry's first run with the World Heavyweight Championship and when he was going against the Big Show at that time, and we really didn't think that he would be a good champion for the WWE as a World Heavyweight Champion. And I will say this, though, he was a decent heel champion for SmackDown, in a sense, or the World Heavyweight title. Now, I didn't say spectacular. I didn't say, he was as good as CM Punk was as a heel champion, or Macho Man Randy Savage, or any of those great heel champions of the past. Considering the way the final build they had on the Go Home show on Monday Night Raw between these two was a little less than lackluster, it really doesn't leave anything to the imagination that this match would really be a good one, Rick, wouldn't you say?
I think it could be a good match. It's just, I think it's going to, definitely go over to maybe SummerSlam. I don't think this is the end of the match. I don't think this is going to be the end of the story.
Now, as far as my official pick for this match, I don't see a clean finish happening for some reason. I don't know if there'll be like a disqualification happening or a count out. For some reason, if they want to really push that over to SummerSlam, as you said, Rick, I really don't see a clean. They would have to have it like some sort of controversial or dirty finish to this matchup to kind of push that angle over to SummerSlam.
Well, like I said, I think I would not be surprised if Mark Henry loses. But I mean, he's already joked about his him retiring. I think like this could be his last run, so I think would not be surprised if sooner or later he puts his career on the line, as an act of desperation.
All right, well, now we're going to run through the entire pay-per-view, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone here is going to be given their picks for each one of the matches coming up at Money in the Bank. And guys, gals, we're going to start off with the WWE Tag Team Championship match on the kickoff. Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns defending their titles against the Usos. Rick, starting with you, your thoughts and your pick.
I'm definitely probably going to have to go with the Usos.
Really?
They've been really getting a big push. So, unless if the Shield wins by cheating, the Shield has beaten everyone, every single roster. So, why build up another team just to knock them down? It just you gotta switch it up a little bit because it's starting to get boring.
Well, yeah, you do have a point there. Will, what about you? Your thoughts and your pick for the WWE Tag Team Championship match, the Shield versus the Usos.
Long story short, I like how they're pushing the Usos right now. Very good push as of late, especially with the paint face and everything. But I would really would have to pick the Shield to retain. Like I tried to say the other week, Usos won't win it at this pay-per-view, but I do see him winning it possibly by SummerSlam. But I do have Rollins and Reigns retaining.
All right, Lance, what about you? Your thoughts and your pick for the WWE Tag Team title match?
Like Base said, little too soon. I got to give it to the Shield.
And James, what do you and your homeless person say?
Billy, there's a duck right behind you. Okay.
We're going to have to explain to Mr. Spielberg after this show is over what all these references mean.
I actually have a picture, so we can just send it to him.
Oh, God, not again.
Anyway, we believe in the Shield. So, Shield.
Well, let's look at this matchup here with Chris Jericho and Ryback. And, of course, we already had the picks from both Mr. Spielberg and Rick Starr for Chris Jericho versus Ryback. I want to start with Will. Will, your thoughts and your pick on Chris Jericho versus Ryback.
And I'm going to take the quotes from our friend of good Andy. Ryback better win this match because if he doesn't and Jericho wins, his career's over. And I really do mean that because look what they're giving him. He went from feed me more to just being soft, and that just doesn't set well with me at the moment. It just doesn't. So Ryback needs to win this match. If they give it to Jericho, he is done.
And what doesn't set well with me is from you going from Mexican to Spanish to Kofi Kingston Jamaican.
Come on.
James, your thoughts and your pick for Jericho versus Ryback.
I got to pick the Ryback man. No, just kidding.
What the hell?
I'm not even going to say anything about that.
Welcome to HWR of the Seven Seas.
Yes. Anyway, Ryback's been on a big pay-per-view losing streak. I think this is the point in time Chris Jericho is going to help him, get over. So, yeah.
All right, Lance, your picks and your thoughts on this match?
Basically, Ryback has to, or it's bye-bye Ryback, basically.
All right, and as far as my pick would go, I would not be surprised if Ryback went over on this match, honestly. But even though, beyond that, any matchup I see Chris Jericho work has always been a fantastic, entertaining match to watch. So I will say this, though. It will be an entertaining thing to see Jericho and Ryback work a match at the pay-per-view. But up next, Rick, the Divas Championship on the line. And just like James, I know how you love to talk about the Divas in the WWE. As the Divas Champion, AJ Lee defends the title against Caitlyn.
This is going to be a good match nonetheless, but as to who's going to win, AJ just got the title, so I'm more inclined to lean towards AJ retaining.
All right, another Diva lovers, of course, Will. Will, your thoughts and your pick on this match?
Oh, man. If James can only see the threshold of this now. it's too soon to take the belt off of AJ. It's just too soon. And they're going to keep having the belt on AJ for a while unless something else happens, but I doubt it. But AJ will retain, and we're going to see something else down the line with AJ, which I have to stay tuned and look at it.
All right, Lance, your picks and your thoughts for this match?
Well, my thoughts. This is the best damn Divas storyline I've seen in a good long time, and I gotta go because I dig Crazy Chicks. AJ.
All right, Mr. Spielberg, your pick and your thoughts on the Divas Championship match, AJ Lee versus Caitlyn.
The first thing I gotta say is I completely agree with Lance. This is the most entertaining Divas storyline that I've seen in the past few years. That's not a good thing. This storyline is getting way too. My problem with the Diva storylines over the past few years is it's all been catty women, the classic women catty going after each other in the back and being dirty bitches to each other. I can't stand it. It's not. If you want real women's wrestling, honestly, go to Hulu. Look at FTW and watch their Divas division. The women's title tournament on NXT right now is phenomenal. That's what made AJ so good. That's what made Caitlyn so good. Please just ignore Oksana because the bitch can't work.
Yeah. Yes, someone finally agrees with me. Yes, thank you, Lord. Finally, an intelligent person in the wrestling industry who finally has the same opinion about me about Oksana.
Hey, I said Oksana. We said Oksana can't wrestle. I just said the bitch was hot.
If my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. Never the two shall meet. What she looks like don't mean a damn thing because let's face it, Moose Knuckles and ODB had one hell of a hardcore match, and let's face it, Moose Knuckles ain't exactly the greatest looking broad in the face. As far as the actual title, and if you want proof that Oksana can't work worth a damn, go to Hulu.
I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I know the bitch can't work. I've seen her wrestle more than once.
We all agree that Oksana can't wrestle.
There's no question. That was never a question in that.
On NXT, the absolute proof is her versus Emma this past week on NXT. It was horrible. As far as the actual match goes, as far as the Divas title match, AJ's gonna win because it's still AJ's turn. It's not Caitlyn's turn. It's not Caitlyn's turn again. Caitlyn's gonna have to wait a little while. Let's see who else is. I'm calling for. I'd say give it another pay-per-view. So say SummerSlam, Caitlyn AJ again. Caitlyn's gonna win. Caitlyn's gonna win the title, and Layla's gonna turn heel and take the belt away from her because if I'm not mistaken, if I'm looking at my calendar right. It's Layla's turn next.
All right, well, up next, Rick, one of your favorite wrestlers of all time, the Intercontinental Champion, Curtis Axel, defending the title against The Miz. Your thoughts and your pick?
Personally, I'd like to see Curtis Axel go down in flames, but, because the guy hasn't done shit. But it is what it is. I think he's going to win because right now he's getting pushed. The guy has skill. He impressed me last Monday, but just the way he's gotten the push and the win, he hasn't done nothing really as far as, in the past 2 months. He really needs to pick it up, and it's not really, impressing me.
Well, let's go to Will next. Will, your thoughts on the Intercontinental title match?
Rick, I will share that IV needle with you right now because Curtis Axel.
Hey, you don't know what's inside that IV, man. I would be careful.
It's a hospital, not a junkie needle, okay?
And you know what? Even the junkie needle would probably be a lot better than watching another Curtis Axel match.
Okay. Miz is being looped like a circus again. So, yes, WWE, for some ludicrous reason, is being high on Axel. So, we're just going to go ahead, give Axel the win, move on, nothing to see here, give me a beer, and we're done.
All right, James, your thoughts on the Intercontinental title match?
Curtis Axel, Miz. Same thing as I said with AJ. It's too early to take the title off of Axel. Because I think, I have to agree with everybody. he's getting pushed too much. I don't see a WWE taking the title off of him.
And Lance?
They ain't taking it off Axel. Although we all want them to, they're not going to do it.
And Mr. Spielberg, we did hear from you earlier, but just very quickly, your pick for the Intercontinental title match?
Axel's going to keep it. The Miz did something wrong that somebody didn't like, because he went from on top with a big face push to being the YouTube show every pay-per-view for the past 3 shows. So Axel's going to keep it because the Miz is still being punished.
And he's also the color analyst on WWE Main Event, or as Rick likes to affectionately call it, the
lame event.
Well, now, Rick, this is where it's going to start to get a little bit complicated for you guys. It's the Rising Star Money in the Bank ladder match. And now you got 7 names to look through and think about. Wade Barrett, Cody Rhodes, Damian Sandow, Dean Ambrose, Fandango, Jack Swagger, and Antonio Cesaro. Your thoughts?
I really have thought about Antonio Cesaro being one, and maybe even Wade Barrett. I don't know.
All right, well, let's go to James next. James, what are your thoughts about the Rising Star Money in the Bank ladder match? Wade Barrett, Cody Rhodes, Damian Sandow, Dean Ambrose, Fandango, Jack, I need to learn to keep my mouth shut when I don't have a line and a promo, Swagger, and Antonio Cesaro.
This actually is a hard one. It's down to Ambrose, Rhodes, and Barrett.
Well, Lance, who do you see coming away with the briefcase for the World Heavyweight title contract?
Ambrose.
Really?
Yeah.
Any particular reason why?
When I looked at all the names on there, it was the one that jumped out at me.
Well, Mr. Spielberg, what about you? Who do you see coming away with the Money in the Bank briefcase for this match between Wade Barrett, Cody Rhodes, Damian Sandow, Dean Ambrose, Fandango, Jack Swagger, and Antonio Cesaro?
I'm going to start off by saying I don't care what anybody says. I heart Fandango. Face it, it's the same thing that Johnny Curtis was. Johnny Curtis is the guy's name. I'm not mistaken. I may be mistaken. Anyway, this kid was straddled with a absolute crap gimmick.
He may have a good gimmick, but look at him in the ring. What does he do in the ring? No, all he does is punches and stomps. The guy's shit in the ring. Period.
Well,
he has like, I mean, everybody slates John Cena for doing 5 moves. This guy doesn't even have 3. You watch his move, you watch him, and you pick out 5 wrestling moves that this guy does aside from punches and stomps. He has his flying leg drop. I think he maybe has a body slam, and other than that, he has shit.
He's in the WWE.
Oh, come on, that's a piss poor show. Really? Daniel Bryan has more than 5. CM Punk has more than 5.
I mean, you know, and the best wrestlers in the country. You're comparing apples to oranges.
Nah, I disagree. The guy's just boring to watch. I mean, yeah, when he puts on the mic, he's good. He's okay to watch, but once he drops the mic, the guy does nothing. I'm sorry.
Billy's gonna laugh when I say this. I got 2 words for you: Ashton Spears. What can I say?
Well, you know, I mean, if that's the case, then you should be a stand-up comedian, not a wrestler. Sorry.
That can be said for a lot of people.
Then what's the then why not be a stand-up comedian? Go be a stand-up comedian. You don't hurt your body, and you'll make money. It's very simple.
Mr. Spielberg, can I ask you this question? Is it true that Fandango's actually stolen some of his outfits from your closet?
No. That's not true. I cannot say he hasn't gotten into Spartan's closet, but no, he hasn't stolen them from mine.
I'm not going to say a word about that because I know Spartan, and I've seen him, and I know he can kill me just by blinking an eyebrow.
And so do I. Like I said, the gimmick is cool. I have no issues with the gimmick.
And, you can't deny the fact that we all don't enjoy watching and staring at Summer Rae when she comes out dancing.
Absolutely.
Oh, true.
Like, the guy is brilliant on the mic. 100%. But in the ring, it's like, that's when I go take a piss.
He's also only had, 4 matches?
Yeah. 4. He's had quite a few. And he's gotten wins, and it's like, it wins against people he just doesn't deserve. And it's just like Curtis Axel. Curtis Axel can actually wrestle, and the fact that they put him over on people that he just had no business getting over on was like, why? If he had started up and worked his way up and gave him 5-10 minute matches, I would have been like, holy shit, Curtis Axel's the fucking bomb. I was like that with Dolph Ziggler. I had been a Ziggler fan for months, even before he even got the Money in the Bank. When he won Money in the Bank, I was psyched because the guy had my respect because he was winning those matches. He was taking huge ass bumps. He was doing it. He did it the right way. Well, sorry about that. We're getting off track. Why don't we get back to the picks? Sorry.
I don't think, but as much as I like him, I don't think that Fandango is gonna take the briefcase. Honestly, cutting to the chase, I want Cesaro to win it. Cesaro is one of them. I want Cesaro to take it. Antonio Cesaro has been one of my favorite wrestlers for about the past 5 years. The man lives and breathes this business in a way that I wish that I could add a fraction of that level.
Anyway, let's look to the Money in the Bank All-Stars match. CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton, Sheamus, Christian, returning Rob Van Dam, and a person yet to be named, Rick. Normally that spot would have been filled by Kane, but now Kane is out. So your thoughts on who do you think will fill the spot and who's going to walk away with the briefcase?
Well, earlier tonight, before he was officially removed, I pretty much would have bet on Daniel Bryan or RVD. I was leaning towards Daniel Bryan. Now that we have that open spot, that's the wild card, isn't it? So Dolph Ziggler was pretty much my pick for him to enter. Like I said earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if he loses, and then him jumping in, he could very well steal Money in the Bank. So my two top picks are now Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler, hands down.
Well, at this moment, Will went to go feed James's homeless person a hamburger. So, James, what are your thoughts on the Raw?
Billy,
the Money in the Bank All-Stars match? CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Christian, Randy Orton, Sheamus, Rob Van Dam, and a wild card spot. Who do you think will be in the wild card spot, and who walks away with the briefcase?
Money in the Bank All-Stars. I could see either Del Rio or Ziggler could come in, but I don't think they're gonna be the participant that could replace Kane. I think it could be someone outside the box. Even though this is called the Money in the Bank All-Stars, I don't think WWE may put an All-Star in. I think they could put in someone like maybe Bray Wyatt in there, But for me, I don't know for sure. I can't really tell who I could see, but I'm sticking with my original pick. I'm sticking with Daniel Bryan.
All right, Lance, what about you? Who walks away with the briefcase? Who takes the wild card spot for the Money in the Bank All-Stars match?
Daniel Bryan.
Okay, cool. And Mr. Spielberg, same question to you. Your thoughts on the Money in the Bank All-Star match? Who walks away with the briefcase? Who fills the wild card spot in that match that would have been filled by Kane?
Just going down the list, Randy doesn't need it. Punk's got Lesnar coming up. Sheamus will always have something to do. Christian's got about 3 more weeks before he fades back into obscurity, unfortunately, because that's just the way that WWE treats him. I think that the wild card spot they have no choice but to fill that spot with Bray Wyatt, because it's his fault that Kane's out. Being that Brad Maddox was just made the Raw GM, just in the fact that Brad Maddox knows Bray Wyatt from NXT. Wyatt's gonna basically use the Wyatt family to strong arm himself into that match, which is gonna basically raise that match exponentially with him being involved. Winner of the match, hands down, Daniel Bryan.
All right. Does anybody know if Will has returned from feeding the homeless person?
Nope, he's not. So
No.
All right. Well, he has put in our little chat room here that his pick is Daniel Bryan. Now, looking at the World Heavyweight Championship match, James, Alberto Del Rio defending the title against Dolph Ziggler. Who gets the title?
My original pick was Ziggler, but just thinking about this, they have the storyline with tensions in the camp of Ziggler, that being Ziggler, AJ, and Big E. As you know, AJ and Big E are still the heels, and Ziggler is kind of face, more leaning towards face. So I think the breakup is going to be possible, and I think that's going to happen at Money in the Bank. And I think that breakup will be a result of Ziggler losing the match to Alberto Del Rio. So I think, let's just think about this. You remember, they're leaning towards the breakup. I think the breakup's going to happen at Money in the Bank or afterwards, but Ziggler is not getting the belt. I see Alberto Del Rio retaining.
All right, Lance, what about you? Your pick for the World Heavyweight Championship match, Dolph Ziggler versus Alberto Del Rio.
Well, I see AJ costing Dolph at Money in the Bank, so I got to go with Del
Rio.
Del Rio, yeah. Because let's face it, she loves breaking up with guys on at Money in the Bank.
Well, Mr. Spielberg, that seems to be the trend as some of the people look at this matchup with Alberto Del Rio defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Dolph Ziggler, with Ziggler just now turning face and AJ Lee still heel in the sword. Do you kind of agree with everyone's sentiment about AJ Lee maybe being a factor in this matchup and costing Dolph Ziggler the title?
I don't know about costing him the title. I think Ziggler is going to win. Honestly, I think Ziggler is going to take it. I agree with what some of the guys said that about the full face turn once he wins the title, and the split between him and AJ. I think that's going to happen. I think that's what their whole promo on Raw was about. Was setting up for. It's setting up for Ziggler basically just to break it off with AJ. AJ goes nuts, and mark my words, SummerSlam World Heavyweight Championship match, World Heavyweight Champion Dolph Ziggler versus Big E Langston.
Wow.
I could, that's something I could see.
Yeah.
Because the way that that match in and of itself is going to be amazing. Just amazing as a fan. It's going to be something amazing to watch, because the things that Big E can do for a man of his size and the weight and as much intensity as he has, going against, especially the way that Ziggler has been working since he came back, the whole because he's basically he's basically being the underdog now. He spends the entire match basically getting beat up, and then he pulls it out at the end. Big E Langston was made for that type of that's gonna blow the roof off. I would not be a remiss if I did not say that if I'm right, and at SummerSlam it's Ziggler versus Big E Langston, that's going to be match of the year. So my pick is Ziggler.
All right, and does anybody know if Will has returned? Because he has not returned, we are revoking
He has not returned.
And you know what? We are now officially revoking his MVP status. From now on, he is just simply known as Bay Area. That's it. WWE Championship on the line, Rick. John Cena defending the title against Mark Henry. Your thoughts and your pick?
Cena all the way, and that could very well go up to SummerSlam. I think Mark Henry's on his way out, and I would not be surprised if he puts his career on the line for that rematch. Could be wrong, but you never know.
James, what about you? Your thoughts on the WWE Championship match?
I'm gonna say Cena. I think Mark Henry and Cena can go even towards SummerSlam. I think they can add somebody else to it, but I'm seeing Cena retaining the title at Money in the Bank.
And Lance, what about you? Your thoughts?
I see Mark Henry winning, but Daniel Bryan cashing in.
Ooh, you know what? Rick, that's something I never even considered. Will there be a cash-in on the Money in the Bank briefcase the same night as the pay-per-view? It's happened before.
It has happened before. That's just, again, that's another wild card we're just going to have to consider. And, it's something I'd like to wait and see. It's just, that's all you can do. Wait and see.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
How about this? If I want to go back to the match of the World Heavyweight Championship. If Dolph Ziggler wins, I think I could see Wade Barrett cashing in his Money in the Bank.
That is a possibility, and Mr. Spielberg, that is also another possibility as it pertains to the WWE Championship match, whether John Cena or Mark Henry will win. We also have to factor in the fact that there might be a cash-in of one of the Money in the Bank briefcases at the actual pay-per-view, if not at this match, at the conclusion of this match.
Well, it is a possibility. I don't think that's gonna happen. As going back to the World Championship match, like Jane said, seeing that the quote unquote Rising Stars Money in the Bank match is a match full of heels, it really wouldn't surprise me if you had a cash in attempt, if nothing else, a cash in attempt after the World Heavyweight title match. Whether it's gonna actually work or waste the contract, or they do exactly what they did with Ziggler last time, where he manages to save it. That remains to be seen. As far as the WWE Championship match, Cena wins all. And I do not. My pick for the Money in the Bank match is Daniel Bryan. I do not think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to cash in until Mania. And I'll slip into super logic mode for you and explain why. There are 3 things that it has been said that John Cena wants or needs to do to be solidified as a future Hall of Famer and as a legend in this company right now. Go toe to toe and have an actual real 5-star match with CM Punk and have which he did, get his win back from The Rock legitimately, which he did. The last step on that ladder is to have a 5-star match and blow the roof off with Daniel Bryan. Because as I said previously, Daniel Bryan is arguably one of the top 3 professional wrestlers in the country. And I would go so far as to say top 10 in the world.
All right, now, Rick, before I go in and give my final picks on all, I actually went to the WGS-TV Facebook page the other day and submitted to everyone for them to submit their Money in the Bank predictions for the pay-per-view, and I got a couple of people who actually sent in their picks. Our old friend Jordan, a.k.a. WWE fan, Lance's old friend, he sent in his picks. According to him, he says that AJ is going to win by disqualification. Miz will win the Intercontinental title. Dean wins the Rising Star Money in the Bank. Daniel Bryan will win. The Shield will win. Del Rio will win because AJ turns on Ziggler and on Big E. And Mark Henry will win. Ryback needs a win because he is on a losing streak. Our friend from South Park, simply known as Cartman, His picks are Dolph Ziggler regains the World Heavyweight title. RVD wins the WWE Championship Money in the Bank ladder match. Barrett wins the World Heavyweight title. Money in the Bank ladder match. Mark Henry defeats Cena. Yeah, I'd like to know what the hell he's smoking. The Usos defeat the Shield. Dean Ambrose doesn't have a match. Jericho will defeat Ryback, and Miz will defeat Curtis Axel, and he doesn't have a pick for the Divas Championship match. I don't know why, but Rick, what did I tell you about slipping Cartman your stash when it comes to picks like that?
I'm sorry, I don't give that stash to minors, so I don't know what you're talking about.
But anyway, as far as my picks go, looking at the WWE Tag Team Championship match, I just see the Shield going over Chris Jericho and Ryback. I don't think a loss by Ryback would actually hurt the gimmick, so I'm going to go with Jericho. AJ Lee and Caitlyn, I got to agree with everyone on that one. I got to say AJ on that one. The Intercontinental Championship match, Curtis Axel, for me, will retain. The Money in the Bank ladder match for the Rising Stars, very difficult to say. But there are two names that really do pop out for me in this match, and that's Dean Ambrose and Rick's going to hate me for this, but Fandango.
No.
Despite the little conversation we already had about it, but those are the two names that really do pop out at me. The Money in the Bank All-Stars, you guys already heard my pick for that. The World Heavyweight Championship match, it's very difficult to say, but as far as I think would go over, I would have to think Del Rio, because of all the issues with Dolph Ziggler and AJ that will probably be brought to the surface in this match. And the WWE Championship match, if Mark Henry goes over on John Cena, I'll say, you know what, fuck it, I'll put on a leotard, start doing jumping jacks, and actually start training to join the trilogy.
I do actually have kind of MVP's picks from the broken prediction show we tried to do last night.
Mm-hmm.
He has, I think he said Antonio Cesaro for the World Heavyweight Championship Money in the Bank ladder match, Daniel Bryan for the WWE All-Star Money in the Bank ladder match, John Cena, because even though he hates him, he knows that Cena's going to retain, and he said Dolph Ziggler to win the World Heavyweight Championship, but he can make his changes. And I'm going to officially change mine. This is what I'm going to say. I'm gonna change my World Heavyweight Championship to Dolph Ziggler, but I would see Wade Barrett cash in and win the title. That leads to the breakup of AJ Lee and Dolph Ziggler.
That's a possibility, Rick.
Because like, here's what it is. Dolph Ziggler's gonna break up with AJ. Maybe not at the pay-per-view, but maybe at like Raw, because he's gonna say, "Oh, why didn't Biggie Langston come out like to help me, protect me when I had the world title from a cash-in?"
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that has been the Money in the Bank predictions. You guys will be able to hear it here on HWR. You also be able to hear it on YouTube.com/WrestleGamer. You guys, you sure you check that over. Check out over there on that one as well. And I'll also like to thank Rick for allowing me to take the reins a little bit here on HWR this week for Money in the Bank predictions. And also would like to thank our special guest on the predictions of Money in the Bank from the trilogy, Mr. Lucas Spielberg. Mr. Spielberg, thank you very much for taking time out to join us here for the predictions.
Not a problem. Surprisingly good time.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Spielberg. Mr. Spielberg, glad you can come over and hang out with us.
And we hope you have a good night. Well, Rick, one more thing I would like to talk about. Just recently, I had the opportunity to. I'll turn off that music for a second. That might be distracting people, but I had the opportunity to watch the documentary on Bobby the Brain Heenan, which I really feel that WWE, in one instance, paid a lot of respect to Bobby the Brain Heenan in this documentary. There are a lot of things that I wasn't aware of. Some of the, where he really got his beginnings. He was also trained as a wrestler, but really made it as a manager. in the wrestling industry. He worked with a lot of greats in the AWA, Nick Bockwinkel, the Crippler Ray Stevens, the original Crippler. A lot of people think the original Crippler was Chris Benoit. No, the original Crippler was the Crippler Ray Stevens. Look it up in AWA, folks. I know my stuff. But then he talked a lot about his work in the WWF. And it really suffices to say, Rick, that back at WrestleMania 3, and I know a lot of you guys who listen to HWR and listen to us on WGS-TV really don't follow as far back as I do. Rick, in some instances, I know you do as well. Some of the old classic stuff, Lance, you do. But the back to WrestleMania 3, Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan, the only thing that really made Andre the Giant a monster heel in that match at that point in his career was Bobby the Brain Heenan. He was the catalyst for that.
I could agree with you in some instances, but I have to disagree with you in other instances because I think at the time he was very close with Hulk Hogan, or at least in kayfabe, and when he turned on Hulk Hogan, I think that was a big catalyst.
Yeah, that was the thing about that entire program. The reason that Andre, who was, I mean, let's say just a big lovable goof, for the most part, especially to all the fans, because he was such an attraction. And I mean, he worked as a good guy for most of his career. The reason he came off as such a dangerous heel was because of Bobby. Simply because 98% of the talking done was done through him. And it was nothing but small, with basically what today would be basically called used soundbite. Heenan would say everything and just build him up and just smash Hogan down. And Andre would basically use 2 or 3 sentences to confirm that. It's one of the beauties about. That's one of the beautiful things about Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan, Jim Cornette. I've researched pretty much their entire careers. I've read everything. I've watched everything that I possibly can on both of those men. Bobby Heenan was a genius in his business, and especially at what he did because he thought about it differently. And that's one of the things that made him such a great manager. And especially with his run with Andre, because he was able to take that level of hatred that everyone had for him and project that onto Andre, and it was believable.
Rick, there was one mention in the documentary that when I looked at it, I thought it was just absolutely frightening, not only from a wrestling enthusiast standpoint, like we all have, but as a wrestling fan and someone who's worked in the industry, like me being a commentator and Mr. Spielberg being a manager. And that was the story that it was one fan who was actually taken to the point that he hated Bobby the Brain Heenan so much that he actually brought a gun to the arena and started opening fire. And, he was aiming in the direction of Bobby the Brain Heenan. And unfortunately, there were fans that actually got hurt because of this. And, when you hear stories of like that happened in the past, that's just kind of frightening for wrestling fans back in the day, wouldn't you think?
Well, you could say back in the day, but I mean, let's face it, that's, it's that extreme, but it still happens today. I mean, there are fans jumping over the guide rails and choking wrestlers out because they hate them, and it's just unheard of. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, there was a couple of months ago where a wrestler literally was like going after AJ Styles because they thought he was a heel, because they don't get it that this is, we know that the violence is very real, but the storyline is scripted. It's fake. It is what it is. I mean, and I've known that since I was a kid, that the storyline, I mean, come on, these guys don't hate each other. They're going in the back and they're having a beer. No way can you beat the hell out of each other 4 or 5 days a week, not have any marks, and not dislike each other. You must have some passion. I think even Terry Funk once said, the more you beat on each other, the more money you make, the more you love each other. And he said that about Mick Foley.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I'm going to ask Mr. Spieler, if you don't mind. Will is back. Will, a couple things we need to know. I have officially revoked your MVP status. You're just now Bay Area. Yes, because you were absent in the past 10 minutes. But I want to ask you this question, Will.
Shoot.
Does it get to a point for some fans where they, when you look at it and see, that these fans don't belong there because they can't really separate fantasy from reality?
See, here's the problem, and a lot of us does not get it. Some of us lost the plot, but in pro sports or any type of sport, you do not go to a venue of that and start going chaotic. The culture of pro sports is just sad. It's chaotic. And what you guys were mentioning about Bobby the Brain Heenan, I caught a little bit of it. And see, this is the problem. People get so caught up in their fantasy world and forget we're living in the real world while you're living off a gimmick. You're living off of something that is not real. I mean, it's sad. You got pro athletes, basketball players, football players, wrestlers, everything in pro culture today. It's just sad altogether. I mean, I can name a lot of them, but I won't because you guys will pretty much agree. The truth is, fantasy is fantasy. You can live it in your dream, and nobody will say nothing. But if you're in the real world and you get called up or something like that, or if you're going to do any physical harm or violence, you're going to get caught up. So I think people in Fantasyland need to get it to reality really quick before it passes them by. It's a pro culture flaw for any type of pro sport. It doesn't matter where you are. It's just something that needs to be fixed very quick.
Quick message to the Shining Stars. Someone very studly might want in the call. Just letting you know. One thing I will say this, though, about the documentary, and I have to agree with what they said, one of the all-time best broadcasting partners in the early days of the World Wrestling Federation was indeed Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan. I mean, just the chemistry that those two had on TV and on the broadcast location as commentators. It was just sometimes, it was some points, the commentary is really supposed to, add to the match. And in some points, Lance, when I would watch a match where Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan were on commentary, their commentary in some instances was more entertaining than the actual match.
Definitely. I mean, the way the King said it best in the documentary. He gets told that him and JR are the best broadcast or commentary team ever, with exception to Bobby and Gorilla.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Rick, I don't know if you remember a lot of the antics that happened on Primetime Wrestling, which, for those of you who don't know, was the actual program that aired on Monday nights for World Wrestling Federation before
Studio
Monday Night
B.
Raw. Yes, Studio B. And there was some of my favorite antics that happened not only with Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan, but with the addition of Roddy Piper in that Studio B. Those are just some of the most hilarious, entertaining things I have ever seen.
I will say this, not to cut you off, Billy, but I hated when Primetime Wrestling went to live, when they had the bleachers, the people in the bleachers in the studio.
Yes.
That's when the show it tanked. So,
yeah,
it was a total shitstorm after that. It was just they didn't really do a lot of matches. They had just more wrestlers come in and just do their stupid little antics, and it was just it was crap.
Yeah, but before that, with the era of Monsoon, Bobby Heenan, and Roddy Piper, that was some of the best work you had seen at that time from the World Wrestling Federation, was the antics between those three. And I will say this, I do miss that a lot. But now, I personally believe, in my opinion, that Bobby Heenan really blossomed into a fantastic color commentator. He was already awesome to begin with. With the way that, one of the things that was said about him, that he was an amazing improver. I mean, he could just, you just put a microphone, he was like the CM Punk of today. This guy was golden on the microphone. You don't need to give him a script. Just give him a microphone and he will just, it's like taking a ride on a rocket. It'll just be a blast off. And you always got something golden out of Bobby the Brain Heenan. And those are the kind of things that I really do miss. As a, if Rick doesn't mind, I'll welcome in the Studley man, Ashley. Ashley, how you doing?
It's not fair to Flair.
Yeah, that was one of the things
not
I loved.
Fair to Flair.
The way that Bobby the Brain Heenan could really actually communicate those characters on the broadcast announce position, Ashley, it was one of the things to me that really made him such a golden asset in the wrestling industry, wouldn't you think?
He's up there with one of the best color commentators that there is in anything, on any promotion that I've seen. Just the way he conveys it. Okay, he kind of screwed up on the NWO third man situation, but other than that, his timing was pretty much perfect.
Yeah, but at that point, he didn't care anymore.
It was that time when he... Well, no, it was a year or so after when they started making the butt of more of the jokes then.
Oh no, I'm talking.
That's when he kind of had enough.
No, he had enough. About 6 to 8 months before the NWO angle, he had just gotten tired of just a lot of the unprofessionalism and stupidity that was going on as far as the things that he had to deal with. Just in general, I mean, we've all heard the horror stories of the match sheet, the order of matches, and the run sheet for Nitros showing up second, third match to the commentators. So the commentators didn't know what was going on. There was routinely times where Bobby just didn't. Everything that you hear on Nitro for about the first half hour was Bobby just going off the top of his head, because he had absolutely no idea what was going on, because no one in the broadcast booth knew what was going on, and that was when Bischoff was still at the broadcast booth. They'd bring him out the one of Bobby Heenan's biggest pet peeves about that entire time. If you have 3 sheets of paper and you hand them to me and you staple them, where are you going to staple them? Top left corner. He would be handed the show notes stapled bottom center all the way to the left. There was no professionalism. He was so tired of all the bullshit at that point that he just didn't care anymore. And he just went off. He usually just went off the top of his head. And when he finally had enough, it was like, okay, well, your contract's coming up. Nope, no thanks. I'm gonna go home now, because I really don't like the business anymore because of this job. And that's what happened at the end. And it took a good long while. It took a good long while after his cancer before he actually fell back in love with the business. And that was all because of all the bullshit that was happening with WCW. And that's where all that stems. And as far as the third man thing on the NWO, that was Bobby not really caring, honestly.
Rick, I want to ask you this question. What were some of your reactions to when you heard the news about Bobby the Brain Heenan's throat cancer, and some of your initial reactions to some of the photos and videos you saw of him after his diagnosis and him dealing with the disease?
Well, of course I was, shocked, and, he was one of my, I was a big fan of him when I was a kid, so needless to say, I was concerned. And he looked nothing like he was obviously, like he was when he had lost a tremendous amount of weight, due to the cancer, and cancer just eats away at you. So, there it is. Just, I wish him well, and
But needless to say, we're all in agreement on here. Bobby the Brain and earned his spot in the. It should be everywhere in the Hall of Fame, but most importantly in the WWE Hall of Fame. And it really didn't look like in the documentary that it was. They really want to showcase a lot more of his WWF work, because that's where they felt that it looked like he was the most successful. He was utilized the best. It looked like that the best parts of his career, Lance, would really, a lot of people have to say that happened in the World Wrestling Federation and not in WCW, as a lot of people might think.
And I kind of agree. I mean, his name was the biggest when he was either as a manager or with Gorilla.
Now, actually, my only drawback about the documentary was its length. 51 minutes for someone who is basically one of the best managers / color commentators in the wrestling industry of all time as Bobby the Brain Heenan, and you only dedicate a 50-plus minute documentary to this man?
When I found out the length of it, I was kind of surprised. I mean, it's kind of similar in comparison would be the Undertaker Streak documentary. I think that's only about 45 minutes. They just breeze through it in no time, where something as big as 20-0 at WrestleMania deserves at least double that. And for Heenan, I'd have thought you could have got a 2-hour documentary out of him easy. And okay, you could be limited as to what highlights you wanted to have from his wrestling matches and some of the stuff he commentated on and things like that. But because obviously, if it was agreed by him, he wouldn't want to have some of his negative sides when he was made fun of in WCW put on, whereas some fans probably would, because they're the bits that they enjoyed the most. But he still had the stuff that the fun segments he had with Gorilla Monsoon, definitely. But yeah, 50 minutes for something like that, way too short.
It's needlessly to conclude this discussion on Bobby the Brain Heenan that this man earned his spot in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. He will always be known as not only one of the best heel managers of all time, but a great improver. He was always entertaining, and one of the best color commentators, bar none, in the wrestling industry. And that pretty much concludes it for me. I'd like to thank Rick for again, giving me a chance to take the reins a bit here on this week's HWR with these first two topics. And Rick, at this time, I turn it back over to you.
Well, thanks a lot. All right. And now we're going to do our usual conversations, and I'm going to start over with Lance. Lance, what do you got for us?
Well, something that I hear a lot, for some reason, fans talk about like the whole ratings thing, like match by match. And do y'all think it's a good thing that we actually look at them? And I know some people, fans use those to decide who's good and who's bad. I think it's just bullshit.
Well, do you think? Well, you think it's bullshit? I don't know. It's. I don't know.
Oh well.
Like people deciding who's good and who's bad by the ratings.
I don't know. It's kind of hard with the ratings. The ratings, I think a lot of people are really big on the ratings. I mean, the ratings are getting kind of too much of attention, if you ask me. But I don't think it goes by the ratings. I think it goes by the scripts and by the story writers. And especially with WWE, they've been going through a lot of different story writers at the time, and I don't think they pay attention to as much as the ratings as they used to. I mean, I'm sure it's a factor, but I'm sure now the internet's more of an issue. So there's a lot of different issues. I don't think it's just one thing. That's just my thoughts. Will, what do you think?
Oh boy. Does anybody remember the lackluster rating drop back about over a month ago when they were trying to compete with the NBA Finals? Yeah, well, that kind of sums a little bit up. But see, here's the problem.
The NBA is not a real sport.
No,
Billy's opinion.
Truthfully, I think people get too bent up with ratings, and here's why I'm going to put it into one big factor. They say what makes a good wrestling show should always be what you produce out on live TV. Well, that's not the case. There's always going to be those creative writers that are just going to throw in things like that to see if you can sell it to a good audience. But sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's so bad that when they go back and look at their weekly reports and see, oh, why do we get a 2.3 1 week and it went down to a 1.1? Because, see, the thing is, you're not adapting to what the real people want. Now, as far as the internet thing goes, yeah, this IWC thing, you know, we're all wrestling fans here, you know? But the truth is, people care too much about one little thing. Oh, I'm a John Cena fan. Oh, this wrestler should have been there. Oh, why they don't do their shows over here? Shut the fuck up. I mean, it's quality to how they can make it. We're just fans. We can't say nothing to these big companies. But if there's some changes right now and it's 2013, TNA needs to do some changes now. WWE is just getting back from their rating slump. As far as others are concerned, just like what you see and quit bitching about it, because at the end of the day, it's what we have to tune in, and that's what it is.
I don't think an actual ratings number is fair, you know, to judge something like that. I mean, you know, you can't go back and say, oh, look, this Impact Wrestling got a 1.1. Am I going to watch it? No. Or this Raw looks like it's going to be projected to have a rating of 2.4. I'm not going to watch it. No. What people should do is give it the fair chance and take the time and actually watch the program. And I said it very slowly for those of you out there who actually have a learning disability or just plain stupid and still believe in the fact that John Cena is evil and should turn heel for his gimmick to actually improve.
Well, Ash, what do you think? What's your thoughts?
Ratings backstage have some partial sway because, you know, backstage at their shows, it's practically a bloody Microsoft PowerPoint. It's like, okay, in the first quarter, we got an upturn of 40,000 here for the opening segment. But by the end of the segment, we'd actually lost 37,000 of them. They switched away. And they go into such intricate detail, and I don't know why. If they go and put out the best product that they can, rather than to try and cater to the ratings, you're going to get better ratings. If you, that's kind of the thing that when WCW was always about trying to cut to break everything.
Oh, Ashley, you're breaking up.
All right, there went Ashley.
Yeah, again, that's because we revoked your MVP status.
Yeah. Well, since we're doing that, we move on to the
we lost Ash.
Yeah, Ashley's unfortunately Skype's is not doing too great.
We lost Ash.
Well, we'll move on real quick. I have another question for you guys. Who wants to spoon Sunny for $75?
Not me.
Are you nuts?
Not me.
I
was
wouldn't even spoon Oksana for $75.
Well, apparently she was not too happy when everybody thought that she was selling herself because there was a lot of bad stuff going on, and she had piped out.
Do people not realize that she's a syphilis disease-ridden whore?
Some people actually said, for a little extra money, can I put my tip out?
I'm sorry?
Missy Hyatt, what?
No. Tammy Sitch.
I know, I just couldn't resist getting a dig in at Missy Hyatt.
Question, Rick.
Yeah?
What does Sunny even have to where she can do this type of stunt? Because I just think it's really funny.
She has desperation, I think.
Hey, she said it's not prostitution.
Well, let me ask you then.
Because she isn't having sex with you for $75. I've got a feeling if you made the right offer, though.
Yeah, well, yes. Well, see, that was option C. It was $100. She had to stick there to $25 under the blankets, and then you could remove your underwear. So.
Oh,
Who needs Kickstarter when you can have Fuckstarter?
Oh, God. At your own risk, by the way. At your own risk.
On a
$100, you get all the perks previously mentioned, plus.
Oh, God.
On a serious note, I asked this question earlier tonight.
Plus a little something to make you itchy.
Yeah. I did.
No, wait, come on. We're being serious about Sunny. It's just something important.
Something serious about Sunny, really?
She wasn't too happy about it. She was.
Her habit.
She was piping off. Oh, she was like, get serious. I'm just doing this for the business, for wrestling. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're just doing it.
Wait. How in the bloody hell is spooning with you for $75 freaking good for the wrestling business? Give me a fucking break.
Part of the money from her stuff is going to the Legends of the Ring charity thing.
And didn't she say something about she's denouncing the wrestling business or something 2-3 months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, that she did say that.
All I know is she apparently is so happy by all the controversy that's been stirred up by this, but she's now thinking what she can do now.
Dawn Marie's her best
female
friend right
Eric
now.
Bischoff, people. Controversy creates cash.
Yeah.
You heard Rick. Dawn Marie is her best friend right now.
Really?
Oh, God.
Not too surprised there.
Brother.
Moving on. This is a question I posted on the Facebook page earlier today. Who would like to see one more match with a wrestler? If you could put any wrestler from the WWE, TNA, ECW, or WCW. Billy, I'm going to start with you.
Eddie Guerrero, hands down. Eddie, I would love to see one more Eddie Guerrero Chris Benoit match. Those matches were always great. There were some of the best things I've ever seen out of both Guerrero and Chris Benoit, other than the Eddie Guerrero Rey Mysterio matches they had in WCW. Note the key phrase WCW, not WWE, where they were just basically shitstorms. No, WCW. Hands down, those encounters with Guerrero and Mysterio were tons better than the ones in the WWE. But I want to say, if you want to see overall what a really, really solid wrestling match is supposed to look like, it's definitely Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit.
And Lucas, over to you.
I'm thinking about it. I've actually got two. One of them is a bit more obscure. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Adrian Neville, the man formerly known as Pac, down in NXT.
Oh, the man that gravity forgot.
Yes. I want to see Pac Dynamite Kid.
Oh.
I think that would just be a clinic in that more British strong style. I think it would be amazing. My other one, the more mainstream, say what you want about him. If I had the opportunity, Benoit, Daniel Bryan.
Oh.
You want to talk about a clinic? in what true American classic professional wrestling is supposed to look like. Benoit, Daniel Bryan, all day, every day.
Man, those are some good picks, huh, Rick?
Yeah, that's some very good picks. All right, Ash, over to you.
I have two, really. Trish versus Lita.
Mm-hmm.
Because, to be quite honest, I think we want to see women's wrestling good again and not the Bellas versus Aksana.
Ugh.
And just because we never really saw it with either guy in full fitness, Stone Cold versus Shawn Michaels. Because imagine what would have happened if Shawn Michaels hadn't had that injury that he did in the casket match before WrestleMania 14.
But what about the matchup they had when they just won the tag in the form of the British Bulldog and Owen Hart, and they went on that year, I think it's 1996, at that King of the Ring, where they actually had a one-on-one match that actually went into But they also had another match before that when Michaels was having his first initial run as WWE champion. This was back before Austin's name kind of blew up in World Wrestling
That's what I'm
Federation.
talking about. I'm talking about both guys at the top of their game.
That would be good.
The peak of 316 versus the peak of DX.
Down where? That's all.
Idaho.
No.
All
right, Will,
I ain't saying any more after that, Rick.
All right, Will, over to you.
Oh man, where do I even begin? I have a couple, but I'm gonna pick a WCW match here in which I thought would have made a lot of ratings. I know they only wrestled a couple of times in WCW. I would have liked to see Rey Mysterio against the Ultimate Dragon. That was a match.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not Rey Mysterio all injured versus Ultimo Dragon, who's like probably kicking back with replicas of his 9 or 10 IWGP titles that he has in his home. Another one I would have liked to see is CM Punk versus Christopher Daniels. That right there would market a whole lot of fans. You got best in the world versus the best moonsault ever. At the top of their game, that'd be a good match. And just for giggles, I would have loved to see Shelton Benjamin at his best go up against a former Ring of Honor star. And I'm not a former Ring of Honor star. I would like to see Shelton versus Jay Lethal.
All right. And over to you, James.
Ooh, man, this is
James
hard.
wants to see the homeless person versus a hamburger.
Shut up, Dylan. I want to see you versus Oksana. I'm just kidding.
Sponsored by Toilet Duck.
Here's a match I want to see, I would like to see again if it was back in the old days. So I like the Ric Flair versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat feud when they had it in NWA.
Oh, I loved their title match that they had back in 1988 between those two. It was absolutely by far what wrestling was supposed to be back then. It was just, whenever you see Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair, you guaranteed greatness personified in those types of matches.
Yeah, that's really that's really a match I could see one more time.
All right, and my picks, well, back in the day, I would have loved to have seen HBK versus Macho Man, a match that should have happened, but unfortunately just never came to pass.
1994. 1994, the peak of Shawn Michaels' heel breakthrough.
Yep.
In the World Wrestling Federation when he first started joining up with Sensational Sherry as his manager. They actually do have a match between those two, but at that time, Macho Man in the World Wrestling Federation was more over at that time than Shawn Michaels was. This, again, just at the breakup of the Rockers, and Shawn Michaels wasn't really relatively known for his one-on-one work. If you look back to World Class Championship Wrestling, when the announcer addressed him as Shawn Mickle. Other than that, that's the only time that I could think of that they actually had a match between Shawn Michaels and Macho Man Randy Savage.
But I'm talking at their peak.
Oh, yes.
Then that would have been phenomenal. And of course, Punk versus Austin.
A matchup that's just been teased so many times.
Yeah, and it's just right because they both have that same attitude. I think they both have the style, very similar styles of wrestling. I mean, Punk, he can ground and pound, but he can get you to the mat and wrestle. Austin, believe it or not, can do the same. He's done it. He's more of a ground and pound guy, but if he wants to get down and technical with you, he can do it.
Back in January, didn't Punk actually tease a matchup with that when they were doing the build between him and The Rock?
They actually.
Let me rephrase that. His name is actually now The Croc.
Yes, but they actually teased it during WrestleMania 13 several times, and a lot of the
WrestleMania 13.
I'm sorry, not WrestleMania. I'm sorry, WWE 13. But the game, it just never came to pass. A lot of the vignettes and a lot of the interviews you saw the light of day. You had to go online to look for them.
I was like, when did they really tease that at WrestleMania 13? Would
that be okay.
During the match between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret the Hitman Hart with Ken Shamrock as a referee?
Yeah. I think Punk was like a kid back then. He says, "Look, I'm going to fight you someday."
It might have been CM Punk in the blood.
Didn't you see the subliminal messages? Yeah.
Yeah.
The screen randomly went white for a couple of seconds with just text on saying Punk is coming.
I thought he was in the crowd with a sign.
Hey, can I add something to this?
Go ahead.
There's another one because I am kind of like the new Diva correspondent for this. For y'all now.
Thank God you added the word correspondent after that, because if you had,
and thank God you said new divas, because if you meant old divas, it's like, oh, Sonny.
I think here's a feud that could happen maybe. AJ Lee versus Lita, two high flying.
Yeah. If they would have kept her, both of them, Lita at her peak, but with her neck issues, I don't think she would even risk.
It wasn't like her peak. I could see it like those two.
Can I do mine?
Yeah, go ahead, Lance.
Both guys at their peak. RVD versus HBK.
I cannot think of any encounter that these two have had, especially when Michaels came back around 2002, 2003. I know they've actually cut some promos, where you see the both of them together, but I've never really seen Shawn Michaels and RVD work a one-on-one match. They might have tagged together. If I'm not mistaken, they might have had some tag team matches before, but I really can't think of any one-on-one encounter. Now, they might have had some at a house show between Michaels and RVD that I'm not aware of, but...
Actually, there was actually one match, Shawn Michaels, RVD, the night after Shawn Michaels won the World Heavyweight title.
Well,
I'm surprised nobody said King Kong Bundy versus those three midgets.
Oh, God.
Moving on, Lance has another topic. Lance?
Okay. This is one I know Bay's been waiting for. Do you think Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan are moles sent into TNA to take them down by the WWE, or just extremely shitty businessmen?
I think Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan are moles on the Society of Life.
Ashley,
And don't forget Bruce Pritchard. Don't forget Bruce Pritchard.
No, he's not
And
a mole.
No.
No, wait.
D'Lo Brown.
Well, hold on, I gotta correct you in there. They're not moles. Bruce Pritchard's more like a pimple.
But on a serious note, Billy, what do you think?
Like that.
I don't see that. I really don't think. Why would?
Billy? Okay, well, Billy had some kind of a problem over there. Ashley, I'm gonna kick it over to you real quick. What do you think, honestly?
Obviously, because we're trying to go into conspiracy theory, on that sense, yes. I don't think so. I think Hulk Hogan we still know Hulk Hogan is a draw in the business. Just a name, but I think he thinks he can do that for everything, and he kind of did. He Micro Championship Wrestling is flourishing without him at the minute. Apparently, they had a show which took 4,500 people last weekend in Texas, and that's without the influence of Hulk Hogan.
Okay. All right. Well, let me ask you this, Will. With TNA, since Hulk Hogan's been in TNA, the ratings have not increased, and every time Hulk Hogan's outside of TNA, he never once, relates to himself as TNA Hulk Hogan, Superstar Hulk Hogan. He just relates to himself as Superstar Hulk Hogan. Why do you think that is?
Does anybody know the phrase insatiable ego? I think Hogan's just as bad as Vince McMahon is. I don't know why. I mean, who in their bright...
I'm sorry. Sorry about that. My laptop just had an Oksana homeless moment.
I thought Oksana and the homeless guy did fusion. But anyway.
Fusion?
Dance Revolution.
I just think Hogan is basically gonna drive TNA to the ground. I don't want to sound like a negative or a pessimistic person about it. Really don't. But we just had the talent cuts and issues with the wrestlers and the knockouts getting paid late, staff getting paid late. I mean, it's just going downhill really bad. I mean, shit's hit the fan, and I don't know. I would probably give TNA 2 more years at best. No, wait a minute. I take that back. I will give it at least 18 months. And then it's going to go way down faster than the Titanic. Because if this keeps up, TNA is just going to be no more than an afterthought.
And think about it as well. TNA is owned by a multi-million-dollar energy company, and they can't be bothered to pay the wrestlers. I think what this really tells you is the parents are sick of backrolling their daughter.
As we hear many voices in the background.
That's a valid point, but you could also consider that they only are bankrolling TNA so much money, and now that TNA is on the road, they're putting that money elsewhere. Lance, let me ask you this: do you think it's going to cost the company more money when they go out on the road?
Definitely, because they would they stay in one place. Now they got to worry about paying all these different fees and stuff, moving everything around all over the country. That's gas and all that. So yes, it's inevitably gonna cost them more money.
From what I've heard, they can only bring the Bound for Glory when they do the shows. They can only bring the Bound for Glory people, Hogan, Sting, the main event Mafia and 3 knockouts. And obviously all the officials and the commentators. That's it. If there's anybody else that's on the roster that's not in the Bound for Glory series, they're probably not going to be seen for quite a while. Hence why you've probably seen people like York and all that get cut like crazy.
So, well, do you got anybody see more cuts coming down the road?
Well, obviously there was one cut which was self-cut by the talent in Matt Morgan, which
was a
to be quite
bad
honest,
move.
Yeah, but that was his opinion. I honestly think, I don't think he's going to go to the WWE. I think he might be happy doing indie stuff and just doing showcase stuff, because no doubt he'll be booked better in indie shows than he currently is on TNA, and probably get the same amount of pay.
Word is he's looking at Japan.
Well, Lucas, let me ask you this real quick, Lucas. We know that, like I said, as before, TNA is having all these money issues, and they're doing these cuts. With all these cuts, do you think it's going to bail TNA out of this problem, or do you think it's just going to dig them in a deeper hole?
No, absolutely not. Hogan's still a part of the company. Hogan is the biggest leech and Hogan is what me and my friends have called him for about 15 or 20 years now. Hogan is an anchor. Hogan will hold you back and sink you fast. Bischoff, I could give or take depending on the situation. Am I happy with what happened since they came on? Absolutely not. My main point, and Billy's heard this, and Billy's heard me rant about this before, is the knockout division. You had the biggest case in point is you had a situation where you had the best female wrestlers in the country, and if they weren't the best, they were being trained by the best, by some of the best. I mean, you had Christy Hemme was being trained by AJ Styles. You had all these top tier guys training these girls, and you had it to the point where you could have legitimately had the first nationwide televised female professional wrestling show in the Knockout show. They were on the verge. Spike was going to give them another hour. He was going to give TNA another hour strictly for the Knockout. A month after Hogan and Bischoff show up, the Knockouts are garbage.
Yeah, they've completely ruined the TNA Knockouts as well as the tag team division. They've even killed the ring, and that was the number one attraction to TNA. And now they're back to the squared circle, which pretty much is the traditional ring. So I think
at least they got rid of the big red butthole of Doom.
Well, the thing about the ring is the fact that it's not so much that that the 8-sided ring was the big draw for TNA. The thing about it is the same reason why CMLL uses it in Mexico, because it's unique. They literally took one of Bischoff's big sayings. If you go back and watch the Monday Night Wars DVD, is what did he do with the Monday Night Wars on Nitro? He made a big noise over here, and everybody went, "Ooh, what's that?" And that's what started the Monday Night Wars.
Exactly, and that's what happened with TNA.
Well, the thing is, with changing the ring, he took that big noise. He took one of those big noises away. He took away something that was different, where you're flipping through the channel, you come across USA, and you keep flipping, you hit Spike, and you see these guys wrestling in an octagon ring, and it's like, whoa, hang on a second, what's this? It's something to draw them in. And now it's just back to you get the Spike, and it's guys in a squared ring, and it's like, oh, okay, whatever, and you move on. They've taken Bischoff and Hogan walked in and tried to make this WCW 2. You can't do that. WCW is dead. Impact, TNA had something great going when they got there. Since then, Bischoff has done what he can, but because of the way Hogan walks in the door when he walks into a company, 100% creative control. So no matter what, regardless of what happens, if Hogan doesn't like it, it doesn't get done. It gets done the way Hogan wants. And how many pies in that company, as far as storylines go, in the past 2 or 3 years that they've been there, how many pies has Hogan actually been in? How many angles and storylines and things has Hogan been a part of?
I agree with you absolutely. He's been involved in every single one of them, and I think that's why we brought up the thing. Is Hogan possibly mole? I mean, he's not done no good. He's done nothing but hurt the company in a lot of people's eyes. So a lot of people are wondering, could he very well? And if you look over in the WWE, where do you see his name being mentioned? Almost every night on Raw. Hulk Hogan's name is being dropped.
Well, you have to. I mean, you say what you want about him. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with Cena. They make the comparisons because, I mean, let's face it. Cena was built to the point where he is by using the Hulk Hogan formula.
Oh yeah, he's the Hulk Hogan of the 21st century. I say it all the time.
That's why. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why you're getting Hogan mentioned on WWE so much. Because I mean, let's face it. Yes, the guy's a drizzling shit, but he's still a household name. So they're capitalizing on that, and the fact that he helped develop the company back in the day. The thing about Hogan and Bischoff being a mole, absolutely not. Hogan's taking it. Hogan's pretty much taking this shit all by the goddamn. And Bischoff's doing what he can. In the past few years, from what I understand and from what I've seen and heard, Bischoff's doing what he can to try to get back to where they were before they got there. But with the amount of control that Hogan has, just by having that one clause in his contract that he has creative control, if he's in a segment and he doesn't like the way it goes, and he doesn't like the way that the storyline's supposed to go, he changes it on the fly. Point blank, we're going to do this, and then we're going to have Matt Morgan and Crimson stay the tag team champions for a year and a half to try to rebuild their tag team. No, because I want to use Matt Morgan. I want to have Matt Morgan do this. And it gets done that way because it's just simply because we can do what we want. So as far as them being a mole, no, that's not it. And honestly, they don't need moles. I mean, one of the reasons before they got with Dixie Carter and got partnered up with Planet Energy, WWE was actually sending Jeff Jarrett money because it was under the table and it was disguised as other things. But he was sending them money. Some of the guys he basically gave TNA Christian the first time. Whenever he had his exclusion, because right before he had his exclusion, when he got the TNA at the big first run. And Vince was like, they approached Christian, and Christian went to Vince and was like, dude, Jeff wants me in Tennessee, and Vince went, hey, go. WWE doesn't. The thing about that you have to understand about Vince McMahon, in order for this conspiracy theory to ring true, man would have to make a top wrestling company.
Well, on that note, yeah.
And Vince doesn't acknowledge any other company. He didn't know about ECW until the week before they tried to do the cross promotion. Vince doesn't acknowledge, think about, or know about any other company except for his own. So I think that's the big mystery bullet in this conspiracy, is that in order for this conspiracy to ring true, Vince would actually have to give a shit about another company. He doesn't.
Well, on that note, I think we're going to wrap this up for tonight. I'd like to thank everybody, Billy, Ashley, and of course you, Miss Lee. Billy, where can we find you at?
In the Federal Witness Protection Program, because the trilogy has taken a hit out on me.
Lucas?
Actually, on youtube.com/WrestlingGamer. Also, don't forget to like WGS-TV on Facebook at facebook.com/WGS-TV and GCW on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Gulf Coast Wrestling.
And Lucas, where can we find you at?
You can primarily find me youtube.com/Lucas Spielberg, all one word. Spielberg is spelled incorrectly. If you think you know how to spell it wrong and you find me. Search for Ashton Spears, search for the trilogy, you'll find it. And now then, why would I want to put a hit out on you? You make me sound so well. I am intelligent and I am good looking and I am everything you say I am. So note yourself. Anyway, you make me look good. So why would I put a hit out on you?
Well, at least I got 1 out of the 3. Anyway,
they do what I tell them.
Ashley, thanks for coming. Where can we find you at?
I think Ashley KO.
Okay, well then, Bay Area. Instagib, one of our
Ashley, you can find Ashley on a better Skype connection.
Yep. And of course, Bay Area, one or two of our Instagib gurus. Where can we find you at?
www.instagib.tv/Bay Area MVP for game shows, video game LPs, and a whole lot of music. Unless we're singing at James's wedding coming up, it's called Burgers on the Bus with the homeless guy back of the bus, singing on the way.
MVP, fuck you.
Hey!
Is it true you can have MSK on backup?
Well, that's the second one now, because we usually drop F-bombs here over here on HWR, and we've been pretty good. James, the second of the Instagib gurus, where can we find you at?
Fatboy504, that's PHATBOI504. I have not been live, but sooner or later I may come back.
And Lance, where can we find you at?
YouTube.com/LanceLaunchTV or just on YouTube, type in Lance Launch TV. You'll find me.
And of course, if you ever want to listen to any of these shows, make sure you hit that like button or head on over to Spreaker.com/HWR Media and be sure to follow us. Until then, this is the Shining Star saying, see you when we see you.
Tonight's episode of HWR has been brought to you by the brand new product out of Stoke Haunted, the Stoke Haunted Ghostly Enemas. Now fully supported and endorsed by Ashton Spears, Lucas Spielberg, and Trucker Jones of the Trilogy.
Thank you for listening to this edition of Hardcore Wrestling Radio. Be sure to follow us on our pages, Facebook.com/Hardcore Wrestling Radio and Spreaker.com/HWR Media, and also on YouTube.com/HWR Show. Until the next time, this is Rick Starr saying, see you when we see you.